But then I think if I do that, then the front might be too messy compared to the back, and it'll just look unbalanced again anyway.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the One Trick Hero podcast. My name is Paxfos, and I am your host and co-host. Wait, what did we decide we were called? We're just all the hosts, right? That's what it is.
Couple of wackadoos.
Couple of wackadoos. Your first wackadoo is me, Paxfos. Second wackadoo is Voxia, and Fish Whisperer is our normal third wackadoo, but he's not here.
Oh no. You could be a wackadoo. I'm a mop. No.
I'm a wackadoo. He's a mop.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, we're here talking about the last week of the semifinals and the stuff that happened there. But before we jump into that, we were talking about Voxia's hair, which I'm telling him he's got the Kurt Cobain look going on, which he does. I mean, you're actually the closest person I've ever seen to look like Kurt Cobain, honestly.
I don't know.
You might be him reincarnated. Which, I mean, that doesn't
He
make
died when I was, let's see. When did Kurt Cobain die? He died...
I actually don't know.
94, April 5th. So, I was not even 2 years old.
So, basically, there was an old you, and that died on that day. And then you became Kurt Cobain.
So, Kurt Cobain didn't just kill himself, he also killed an innocent child.
Oh, yeah, no, there's two dead people in this thing.
Yeah.
You don't even realize it. That's the crazy part.
I might have inherited a bunch of his mental problems. That honestly might explain some psychological issues I think I have if I'm Kurt Cobain reincarnated.
That also might explain why every time we hang out, might also explain every time we hang out, I just hear dan 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 dan. Yep. And then I just think, wow, something smells like Teen Spirit in here, and I can't really put my finger on it.
It's all the Axe body spray.
Yeah. Okay, but anyways.
Do you think it's a good thing Kurt died before the influx of Axe body spray into teenage locker rooms and such?
What's the correlation between Axe body spray and Kurt Cobain?
Well, I don't know. He killed himself and he didn't have to deal with all the...
Yeah, well, I mean...
you remember middle school and high school, right? Those people that... There was the people that wouldn't wear anything, and then there was the people who...
Yeah.
Would use, like, Axe. Like, you remember those people? I'm sure they were everywhere, who wouldn't... They'd be like, oh, dude, I haven't showered in, like, a week.
I just used a spray.
Like, yeah, I just spray myself with Axe. It's no problem.
That's gross, man.
I mean, Axe as a company has gotten... It was never their fault. Like, some of their scents were, like, not that great, but that's true of everything. Even
they
like,
were kind of just...
Some shit.
Yeah.
It was just people... It was just, like, it became associated with those idiots who were just like, I just got a spray can of Axe. You know, it's not their fault. It's like same thing like Monster Energy. Monster Energy was hard. It's an energy drink company. They make some stuff I enjoy. Not their fault. A bunch of douchebags like fucking.
Yeah, they're kind of a
monster
cult
stickers all over their BMXs.
I was gonna say, yeah, they kind of. Well, that's the way I feel about Razer. Like, oh,
yeah,
no, shameless here, but that's the way I feel about Razer. It's like I've always, back in the day, I enjoyed their products and I thought they were cool. And then all of a sudden, it became a meme that like, oh, you got Razer products, you're an elite gamer.
Well, I mean,
it's like, well,
yeah.
Damn.
I mean, I can understand
you know,
when people, say that their products aren't the best sometimes. Like, I haven't had many issues. I've had a few minor issues with some, but for the most part, most of my old Razer keyboard I still have, it works fine. I just replaced it because I wanted something different.
Yeah.
The only issue I had, I think, with the product of theirs was my old Naga that I had for like 4 years or something.
Yeah.
It eventually started. But I abused that shit. I used to play games like 20 hours a day sometimes and shit for... Like, honestly, that thing lasted me plenty of time.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, is there a peripheral company that's a sponsor of Overwatch League yet?
No, I don't think so.
For some reason, I was thinking. Yeah, honestly,
I'd like a Razer sponsor. I feel like getting a new keyboard.
If I was sponsored by Razer, I would get on stream every day and be like, and just talk about Razer, and I would throw it in every conversation. Just like how like what's his name, Ninja always talks about Twitch Prime every like 5 seconds, and he seems
a lot of broadcasters do. It's weird. I'm beginning to think there's some sort of algorithm for this, and I'm not, because I have Twitch Prime and I struggle to find out who I want to subscribe to.
Dude,
so I feel like an asshole because I've had it forever and not given any benefits to streamer because I just don't know who I want to support. I should just every month. Fuck it, just give somebody an extra $5
I've just
if I can't
started.
choose. But
Yeah, I just
but
started doing that.
the amount of times that I just am like, I'll see what the streamer is doing, and I click on the stream, and the very second I do, they go, by the way, if you have Twitch Prime, don't forget to subscribe, haha. And I'm just like, what? I'm not
That's
even seeing
awesome.
live streams at this point. I'm pretty sure it's a fucking algorithm, and they know I have it, and I've just been sitting on it.
I gave my last month's to Mogamu. He's a Warframe streamer. I really like him. And this month, I think I'm gonna give it to Automatic Jack. He's a priest streamer, really good priest, and
Oh yeah.
I like his content a lot. So I'm gonna give it to him. So.
Wow, that's a worse reason to sub to anybody.
Ugh,
Don't you know the real reason to sub to anybody is for the emotes, you
for
fool?
emotes and memes. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should probably talk about Overwatch League.
Probably.
Yeah. So last week was the last week of the semifinals. So this week, actually in 2 days, is going to be the grandfinals. The grandfinals for this week is going to be Philadelphia versus London. So if you, for some odd reason, didn't watch the semifinals.
Yeah, spoilers.
Nixel lost to Philly, which was a surprise from us, and then of course London beat Valiant, which was also kind of it wasn't really a surprise for me. It was a toss up, but
I thought I just I think like we mentioned, I wasn't really surprised because I had a feeling London was going to win. Like numbers wise and based on past results, the favorite would have been the favorite was definitely Valiant because of their performance, but personally. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this. I just felt like London was going to win. I think, and I still feel like they're going to win. I think I told you this. Oh yeah, this wasn't because we haven't done this cast till just now, haha.
Yeah.
But I had a feeling that even if Nixel had won versus Philly, I thought Nixel was going to win, but I just had a feeling London might win it all. Just I don't know. I was just sitting there and I was like,
they buckled down,
London,
man.
they're scary.
But yeah, and you know what's funny is when Nixel lost, I was in voice chat with Fish. No, not Fish. It was like Tiz and Monty, I believe. And Monty was like, "Yeah, I knew this was going to happen. I knew Nixel was going to lose." And I was like, "What?" And then Tiz was like, "Yeah, of course we're going to lose. Like Philly was going to beat him." I was like, "What? Are you guys high? Like what?"
What? I feel like
and then I went on Reddit and people were saying the same thing. Like, I knew Philly was gonna win. Like,
I don't know. I feel like a lot of times people do that. They just they I don't know. They have no real vested interest or idea behind something. They just think oh man, whatever, and then they claim they knew it. Like, see, I called this shit years ago. It's like all you said was that I'd wake up and get out of bed on a Tuesday. No, I mean
I think anybody who was paying attention, could have still reasonably given the heavier percentage to New York. Really, the reason, and we'll go into this later, but I mean, the Philadelphia Fusion beating New York was definitely not what everyone thought. I mean, even
it wasn't unimaginable. I don't mean to come across if you thought Philly was gonna win, you don't know anything. No, I thought Philly could win. I thought Nixel would win based on what we'd seen, and anybody who had been paying attention to the season and not just gotten their ideas from rumor mill
Reddit
and
comments
shit like that behind the scenes and Reddit comments and random tweets from fucking people who knows if they know what the fuck they're talking about. Would have also thought that Knicks would win, despite the fact that Philly could definitely win if, the things that led Philly to actually win happen, which they did. Right?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is, there was a chance that Philly could win, but I didn't think there was a chance that, of course, Philly would win because, it wasn't an of course thing. It was definitely it was going to be the hardest battle they've ever done. I mean, Nixel's the best team, and honestly, even after Nixel lost, I still in my mind thought they were still the better team overall. And I just feel like that and we talked about this after, when just you and I talked about it after the game. I feel like Nixel suffered kind of the same problem Boston did, not to the degree Boston did, but the same problem of they couldn't quite find their footing with the meta without mercy carry, and and I feel like they maybe did find their footing, but Philly just was
Well,
on it like
it wasn't really a
hard.
mercy thing for Nixel. It's just Zenyatta's not as strong right now, so
Did
they
I say
can't play
Mercy? I
around
meant
John.
Tracer.
Yeah.
Did I say Mercy?
Yeah, you did say Mercy.
Wow, dude, I meant
Exactly.
Tracer. Wow, I'm so sorry. No, I meant Tracer. The basically Tracer not being in every single map and being the hard carry. Because in previous metas, all the way up until this meta, Tracer has been like the key to success, really. And we saw teams with strong Tracers do good, such as Carpe, Sabiobi, or Striker. So I feel like that they struggled a little bit, maybe. And when I say struggle, it's really hard to say that because it's not like they couldn't have beaten just about anybody else. They were doing really, really good. I just think Philly put in that much more effort, and they just had that many more. They were just that much more prepared for it. And they did work their asses off for that win. That was not like
yeah, they totally deserved it.
Oh yeah. So
when I say Nixel lost, it wasn't like, Nixel should have won, but they just fucking flopped. Like, no, Nixel. I mean, yeah, Nixel didn't play their best, but it doesn't matter. Philly played their best, and they are incredible, so they won.
Well, and the other thing I think too is, but that goes back to what I was saying. I still feel like Nixel's the better team because I feel like if you remove the whole Tracer thing, which I know it's a big thing, but if you remove the whole Tracer issue, individually on an individual skill basis and on a team skill basis, they have been super consistent and ultra high performers. I mean, there was like 4 different metas during the regular season and the playoffs put together, and they dominated every single one.
Right.
Lost 6 games total. Like they clearly got it. They have the juice. I just think there was Philly just prepared.
Not only is it the fact that Tracer is not as good in the sense that she's not just perma-pick every map no matter what.
Right.
Especially with Brigitte around makes it difficult, as
Yeah.
most people know.
Brigitte's the big thing, yeah.
And also Zenyatta, just now it's not as easy to set up a Zenyatta as it was. But I think part of the problem that they ran into, and maybe why they are not as comfortable at the moment, is because there's kind of a weird overlapping or underlapping, maybe. I don't know if that's
underlapping. I've never heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
There's kind of a weird situation with the way their DPS's hero pools are, right? Because you have Libero, who is the insane flex. One of the best flex players, as at least as DPS flex in the league, if not the best. Well, EQO might be better, but it's debatable, right? He's definitely top 3 or top 2. But the thing about Libero is he doesn't have the best Widow or Tracer, right?
Right.
So, although we have seen his Widow, he has shut down Soon and other players. I don't know why we didn't see him play Widow during the finals, really, but I don't know. I guess maybe it just wasn't working in their practice or something, or they just were trying something new.
I guess they were just more confident in Pine, which, I mean, it would make sense.
Well, yeah, Pine when Pine's hitting his shots, again, it's arguable. I wouldn't say it's at one point it was Pine's definitely the best Widow when he's playing at his highest, right? At his best, right? Now, I don't know, man. Carpe really does look fucking insane.
Yeah,
and even Saya player, when Saya player hits so many shots. I think I saw a stat about it where he takes less shots than others, but he hits almost every single one. So,
well, I think for Pine, I think the name
accuracy is also insane.
Yeah,
too,
well, I think Pine's thing is I think he still lives up to the name Big Boss Pine. That he comes in clutch at the right moments. I will never forget. This is one of the greatest moments in my mind in Overwatch League history was when Pine did that predictive stun on McCree to that Tracer blinking.
Man, that was awesome.
Popped through with the stun and then rolled over and did a pop around corner headshot and then left. It was just
he knew where she was at 4 seconds before in his head, and then it was nuts.
But he does stuff like that a lot. He's like. Yeah. He just is that he's got the it factor. I don't know what you'd call it, the zone factor or something like that.
So, wait, where was I was going. Okay, so Sabiobi is the best Tracer, at least maybe not in terms of raw damage or whatever, but in the impact he makes on the game. He's at least most consider him, myself included, rather.
The
He's the
only
best
the only person I'd
tracer.
put right up there with him is Striker. I feel like they're neck and neck.
Yeah, Striker's pretty up there. Um, but Sabiobi is also he's also a fine widow. His highs on it haven't looked as good as Pine or Carpe, but he's definitely able to hold his own usually. But beyond those two picks, I don't want to say he's not good, right? But he's not the DPS, at least at this point in time. He hasn't been the one that could swap to a Pharah and be really super effective and turn the tide of the battle, or a
Yeah,
Junkrat or whatever. That's kind of Libero's role, right?
that's true. Yeah.
So if you don't, so if you play Pine and Sabiobi, who's gonna flex to Pharah if you need a Pharah or a Junkrat? Like Pine can, but in that situation you want like a Widow, right? Or I mean, you want Libero because Libero is better at whatever. But Libero, it's weird too because he didn't play much Hanzo during the finals, despite the fact that he was playing Hanzo before it was meta, even in Overwatch League, and looked like one of the best, if not the best Hanzo, for a while. I mentioned you, I this whole double sniper comp centering around Widow and Hanzo. I believe Nixa was the first to break it out, at least on the Overwatch League stage. So it's interesting that they seem to have trouble adapting to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just some kind of inconsistencies with the hero pool. You don't have so Pine and Sabiobi are both really really good on like a Widow or whatever.
Hit
Widow's
scan, yeah.
Sabiobi's right, and Pine's Tracer is okay, but it's not. It looks like it's gotten better, but it's almost like a Jake kind of thing.
The problem is it's just when you have the likes of Sabiobi and Libero, it's like you're like, well, it's good, but
yeah,
why?
So if there is a situation where you need a Tracer and you have Libero and Pine, you're kind of missing out. And Carpe though, see Carpe can flex to a lot of like a few different things that are really possible.
I think the thing with Carpe is that he is super consistent on, because like okay, so the level that Striker and Sabiobi are playing on Tracer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Carpe is I think right about there, if not right next to them at that level with Tracer, but he's also at that level with Widowmaker and with Soldier and with McCree wait, does he also flex to Genji, or am I confusing that with EQ?
No,
EQ. Does
EQ.
Genji, yeah.
But Hanzo looks EQ
or Hanzo,
and
that's right,
Carpe both play Hanzo really well.
So he plays at a super high level with more than one hero. So I feel like Philly.
I think I was just getting lost in being. My point that I was trying to make is where you're getting at. That Philly's DPS is just more flexible.
Yeah.
At a higher level than Nixel's is. And on top of that, if you take out Sabiobi from the roster, you don't have your captain and shot caller.
That's also true.
Now, obviously, I'm sure they have a way to around it. It's not like they haven't won games without Sabiobi and such, but I kind of think that's one of the things that's kind of hurt them and hindered them a bit in this meta. Is not only is because of the weird incongruencies with the. I don't even know if I'm using that word correctly, but it sounds. Cool.
I'm gonna nod my head and say yes.
Because of the the way that we're talking about with the DPS over not being as flexible, you kind of have a weird spot where you don't have an easy way to have Sabiobi be the shot caller and in the lineup, and also be able to flex to any DPS at any time, any DPS hero at any time.
Yeah. Well, also think about it this way: if you're used to shot calling from a Tracer perspective because you've always been playing Tracer, your calls are going to be different than if you're shot calling from a Brigitte perspective or from a
I hadn't thought about that. Or even a Widow or
a Widow,
Hanzo,
whatever. Exactly. So whatever. So the shot calling can be different from that scenario.
Maybe his shot calling just isn't as good at the moment because he's not as comfortable.
And I know a lot of the teams talk about fluid communication, but at the end of the day, you do need to have a unified direction and someone kind of pushing that. I'm wondering who does that for Philly. I'm wondering who's.
Well, Philly's comms. Honestly, Philly's comms. Like when they played it, I was like, I couldn't. I understand accents pretty well, and I can hardly understand any of the words they were saying to each other outside of monkey.
I was like,
it's incredible that I'm not saying their communication is bad. I'm astounded that they managed to understand each other well in the moment.
Because
I couldn't understand what they were saying.
While I was in the shower earlier, I was just thinking about it. This is Philly. The Philly versus London matchup in the grand finals is literally a bot team. Well, I mean, they've added new people to it, but it's essentially a Korean roster bot team for London versus probably the biggest mashup team there is in the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
With Philadelphia is literally just people from all over the world, different languages and accents and everything. Just like they have Israeli, like Mexico, right? I believe like Sweden.
Wait, EQS technically he lives in Israel, but I think he's actually Brazilian.
Oh well, gee, okay.
If I remember correctly.
Anyways, but they have a lot of different.
It's either
stuff.
He's Brazilian and was in Israel, or he's Israeli and was in Brazil. But I think he's ethnically Brazilian. But
and then they have French, and then they had a Russian. You know, like, or they still have a Russian. I'm hoping. Side note: Shadowburn, if you're listening to this, which I know you're not, but I wish you were. Please go to another team that you can become star DPS in season 2.
Oh, not even Brazil.
I want to see you.
He's from Israel and Colombia. That's right. But I don't remember. I guess it doesn't matter.
But the whole point is
from Israel and Colombia.
A massive clusterfuck of ethnicities, personalities, and different regions, and they're on the final stage versus basically a Korean roster. And it's interesting. It's cool, but this is really cool because a lot of people were just basically expecting that all the bot rosters, especially in early, that those were the ones that were going to do the best, probably, especially in season 1. But in the end, the top 6, 4 of them were mixed matches. And
not only just that, but a lot of people thought that there was no way any team that wasn't full Korean was going to win, or even get to be the finalists or whatever. So, despite the fact that my favorite team is a full Korean roster, I like the fact that we have that.
We're showing diversity.
A team as diverse as Philly is actually still made it up there. I think it's great, and even the semifinalists and stuff. I like that it's not just domination from the full Korean teams.
Exactly. Oh. Hold on, I think Fish is in the chat. Yeah, Fish is in the chat, dude.
Oh really? I don't have it open.
He said, "You dog gay."
My dog's dead.
Oh, he said you're looking like you're trying to be a Jedi.
I am a Jedi though.
Yeah, you are. Oh man.
I'll have to show you that video when I visit. But the video that some Deadpool cosplayer.
Oh, when you were
YouTube.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Took a video of me.
Yeah. Where were we? I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so Philly being a mixed match team.
Yeah. Well, I think, let's see, we hit on the fact that, Nixel just didn't adapt. Oh, yeah, which brings me to the next point. So, you think, well, I also believe as a Nixel fan that Nixel's still the best team. They just weren't the best team.
When they needed to be.
When it mattered in the semifinals.
I agree.
Because they didn't adapt to the meta. And remember, I feel like I don't want to talk too long on this, but when we had that private conversation, we were talking about, it is, as professionals and being paid to be in the league, it is part of their job to adapt. However, it's not just as simple as saying, oh, well, they didn't adapt, so they're not as good. Sometimes, if the meta shifts, the meta can shift to a way that favors, and usually does favor, different playstyles, right?
Right.
If you just aren't one of those things that's favored, that doesn't mean you're worse at the game or not as good necessarily. It just because you're gonna have to try harder to if Junkrat's your favorite fucking hero and your best, and then he's not meta, okay, but then he becomes meta. Obviously, you have to put in less practice to make that effective than somebody who had hardly played Junkrat before, but now has to because he's super meta, right? It's something. That's something to think about too. I don't know if that's Nixel's problem, but they're clearly uncomfortable with the current situation. But as professionals and being as good as they are individually, I'm sure that next time we see them, well, if it's the same meta anyway, they'll look better.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that makes this a lot different than regular sports is, in like basketball, the rules don't change every 3 weeks or 4 weeks. the
Yeah.
how many players you can have, or who can,
Well,
what constitutes a
great.
3-pointer, or
Right.
what the rules of foul are. That doesn't change every 3 weeks. I mean, so it changes a lot like over
No.
time, but that's one of the things that's different with the esports, and especially this game. It's like you have to learn to adapt on the dime, and that's a big part of the skill in this game,
Yeah.
is being able to adapt. So I think we're going to need, in season 2 of Overwatch League, we're going to see rosters get deeper, and we're going to see more players being. And I think the training's also going to be different too. Like the way they're going to prepare for the next season. I think it's going to be a lot more intensive on flexibility, because I think that's where we've seen some of the best play has been flexibility. Because if you hone in on one thing, the possibility that that's going to change is very real. And as long as you can do well enough with your variety and plus the variety thing, I also think can actually play into that, into the winning aspect. Some of Gladiator's games came from them making hot swaps, like on the fly, doing some crazy stuff that you wouldn't expect, and they got in a competitive advantage. And that's actually something I wanted to see more in Overwatch League period in season 1, and we didn't see a whole lot of it. But
especially with the fact that the game was built with that idea in mind.
Yeah, but the Gladiators did a lot of that. I loved it. Like I have that one in my one instance in my mind that I'm remembering is when Gladiators switched to the high ground, and then what was it? Surefour was on Brigida, went back to spawn, switched to Widow, got 2 picks, went back to Brigida just to real quick throw them off. But like they didn't know he was in spawn. They just from their perspective, he's Brigida and he's up with the team, but then he was actually back in spawn, switched to like stuff like that. That's like mind games plus switching up on stuff. I like that. I like that stuff, and it seems like Nixel was trying to do a little bit of that kind of stuff too. But
Yeah, well, Nixel, they did. I mean, we had this conversation last cast, and I talked about it to you too. But I like that Nixel being my favorite team. One of the reasons they're not afraid. They try to throw out some stuff that other teams weren't, or I guess I shouldn't say other teams weren't, but when it came down to the wire and what they were doing wasn't working, they actually tried to change things up instead of just continuing to smash their head and hope it worked finally.
Yep, exactly.
So, I like that, and I wish more teams would do that.
Well, I think we'll see more of that in season 2. I mean, first of all, the teams are gonna have more time to prepare because a lot of these teams didn't even come together and practice until like a couple weeks or like a week before Overwatch League started.
I do wonder how the game is gonna look from a balance standpoint or a meta standpoint when season 2 starts, because it's a while off.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of time for a lot of things.
We're definitely gonna see tons of new heroes. There's gonna be new maps. I'm sure rules are going to change. It's going to be a whole different thing for. I just realized we've been talking about Philly Nixel. We didn't even mention.
Yeah, I was about to switch.
London
try and switch gears.
We are shamelessly biased on this podcast. We talk about the teams we like, but you know what?
I like London.
Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying. Like when Boston was in the running, I just fucking talked about Boston. When Fish is on here, just talks about Houston. But you know what? It's our fucking podcast. We do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
So
unless somebody's gonna pay us to shill whatever team they'll pay us money to,
we're gonna shill Shanghai next season.
We don't have to play favorite, or no, we can play favorites. We don't have to be super neutral.
Exactly.
I guess
but I did want to mention the London Valiant game though, because that was
I'd love to London how I'd love to mention how the Valiant got slaughtered by London. Absolutely.
Thank God.
And
I did not want to see them in the finals.
Neither did I.
Well,
especially not without Nixel. I would have been okay with Valiant being in the finals if Nixel had, because then I could have watched Nixel win the rematch from stage 4. But
yeah, that'd have been nice.
So glad it's London versus. I mean, I still would have preferred London versus Nixel.
I think
Valiant versus Nixel, but London. London's like it's almost the same thing they did in. It's like on a longer short-term scale in stage 1 where they went up 2-0 and then they were about to get reverse sweeped and then they went down 0-2 and then reverse sweep Nixel. It's just like they went down in the regular season during the stages, and now it's like victory's close and they're in the finals, or in the playoffs as they're just like, oh wait, we're the best team in the world.
Well, I think they kind of, London kind of did what Nixel did during the regular season, but to a worse degree. But I think they were trying out a lot of different things.
Well, they were before they locked down their roster, certainly.
Right, and I think
that clearly paid off. A lot of people were like, "Why the hell would you release these players?" So it's just like, because they know what they're doing.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? But yeah, no. But London, anytime they've needed to buckle down for a win, I mean, they've gotten the win. That was the thing. I never put London
except
out.
Stage 2 finals.
Like when Seoul Dynasty was starting to slip, it was very clear that they were slipping, right?
But Stage 2 finals, they didn't.
Who?
They got London. The Stage 2 playoffs, they got beat.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is like
when they needed to win, then they didn't buckle down well enough.
I mean, technically you need to win. I mean, practically you need to win all the time. But you know what I'm saying? Like it never felt like if they were ever going to be down and out of the count, they just won a couple games. Like it kind of felt like on a whim desire. And it made me feel like that they really did have a good core strategy, and they were just messing around with some other stuff. But when they needed to win, they had that winning mindset, and they were able to put that work in. Because the reason why I thought that too is because when they lose, it was kind of stuff that you're like, what, what happened there? And
I think they had a lot of issues integrating their two rosters together.
You think so?
I feel like
that was gone by stage 1.
I really don't think that it was an example of like Nixel in Stage 4 where they said like, oh, we're just not trying to win. Like, I just think that they figured out what started working for them and they put in more work than the other teams that did.
That's possible.
That's how they ended up, beating. They'd never beaten Gladiators, and then they beat the shit out of them. Yeah. They had lost to a lot of different teams, and I don't know what the record was against Valiant, but they blew the hell out of that. I think they just, once they focused, I think they just, once they closed in and focused more on who was going to be moron. Once they just gained focus and really, continued on with the roster they have now, I think it worked and they put in enough work to be better.
Oh, also, Fish just said for me to remind you that Houston is better than everybody and results don't matter. I do hope Houston makes a triumphant return season 2 because they are legitimately during the regular season they were one of my favorite teams to watch just because I loved seeing Jake pop off. I loved seeing Linkser. They're great team dynamic. Muma's still one of my favorite tanks. Cool Matt's still a Diva King in my opinion, or Queen.
Jimmy Neutron.
Old Jimmy, yeah. and I'm a fan of Flame, so I want to see them. I want to see that team grow. I do not want to see. One thing I don't want to see, with the exception of Shanghai, because they probably need it. Although I want them to keep Gaguri, or trade Gaguri to somebody else, but that besides the point. I don't want to see massive roster changes, but I fear that's probably what we're going to see season 2 is sweeping roster changes. I would love to see improvements on the rosters.
I think
what we were talking about the Gladiators thing,
Well, the bottom half of the leaderboard or the standings, I'd certainly expect quite a few changes.
Yeah.
For the teams that made it to the playoffs, maybe minor changes, but I don't think Nixel's going to be all different players.
I was more thinking like Gladiators or
Gladiators may lose Fissure. I don't know. There's rumors that he'll be going to Seoul.
Dude, it's funny that the whole Fissure thing kind of makes me think of the Kawhi Leonard thing going on right now. I'm like, no, please no bad blood. I don't want
at least Fissure fucking talks.
Yeah,
Kawhi's
dude. Bro, that's crazy.
The shit posts on fucking. There's so many shit posts about how like Kawhi Leonard is dead. actually like.
I wish he'd say something. I mean, it's clear he doesn't like Popovich anymore because he withdrew from the All Stars because it's or from the USA whatever team because Popovich is going to be coaching that, so he withdrew from that. He does not want to have anything to do with Popovich, but why? Like, what's the reasoning?
Yeah,
He doesn't.
I wonder why.
No explanation. He just wants the fuck out of here. But he didn't want to go to Toronto.
No.
So, which is
He wanted to go to LA.
Yeah, like the Spurs are the shit going on with Spurs right now is just kind of all over the place.
I think
honestly.
It's funny though. Like I generally like the Spurs. I don't like Gasol. This is an Overwatch League podcast, but I do think just a reminder. But I think it's funny that he like all right. So the Spurs, like they're super consistent, always make the fucking playoffs, and they always have like. They always manage to get like a star player that they then becomes like a lifer or a homer for that team, like stays there and stuff. I just think it's funny because a lot of Spurs fans don't seem to know like what the fuck to think or do now that their star player who is supposed to be a homer is just like, actually I don't really like this place. I'm gonna go somewhere else.
They
it's
really
like,
don't.
Like I don't dislike the Spurs, but it's funny because it's almost like the Spurs are this privileged, like class of fans where they like never have to worry about their team being bad ever, and now
that's
it's
true.
not that they have to worry about it being bad, but they're like their prize pig has like left the farm, and they're just like, well, what the fuck does this mean?
Yeah, no, it's true.
I don't know what to do.
It's true. No,
they've never had to rebuild or
this
anything.
This is definitely the most chaotic I've seen this. I've heard of the Spurs being as far as just not really knowing what to expect for the next season. But okay, so back to Overwatch.
No, they did get DeMar DeRozan, who's good. But I remember reading a Reddit comment where they're like, "He'll really like it here. San Antonio's a beautiful city," and I was like,
"Isn't he the one?" He was in Toronto. He was with Toronto.
Yeah, he's Toronto's golden boy, man.
Yeah,
he loved Toronto. He got drafted from. He was from Compton, California.
Well, apparently, he didn't. He was upset because he was told he wasn't going to be traded.
Yeah, he was told that. Yeah, and then they
traded
him.
And then they're like, "Well, we didn't tell him that."
He's also been loyal to Toronto. Like he's re-signed with them without even multiple times, I think.
Yeah, didn't he do work with the summer league too?
He was their franchise player, the face of their franchise. Really good. I mean, it's not like he didn't have limitations or weaknesses as any player does. But he was really good and loyal to that.
Tiz today was telling me he was averaging like 28 last season.
He's good.
Like 28.
He's good. He has. I think it's mostly defensive weaknesses.
Points rather.
Problem, But anyway, without going too much into it, it's just funny because I was like, I've been to San Antonio. It seems pretty cool. I've been there multiple times. It's an alright place. You've lived in the area, and
still do.
It's alright. But I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it's beautiful. I feel
not.
like that.
No,
I read that and I was like,
it's not. It's not. San Antonio's not a fucking beautiful. Jesus Christ,
man. It's not a beautiful place.
It's not a beautiful place.
I don't hate it, but I wouldn't ever describe it as beautiful. I like Las Vegas. I would not describe this city as beautiful. I really wouldn't. I would describe some of the desert landscapes outside of it as beautiful.
I would say Las Vegas is more beautiful than San Antonio.
But I still wouldn't describe Vegas as beautiful.
No, I wouldn't either. But Vegas at least has the grandioseness. Like it is a fucking huge city. Like it just goes forever. So like that in that sense. San Antonio doesn't have any of that. It's just confusing. The traffic sucks. There's nothing to do there. It's not a good I'm sorry. It's painfully average at best of a city.
Hey, you've got the Alamo though, man.
Oh, whoa. The fucking 4-block building that's like
the Alamo.
Jesus,
you sit there
man.
And stare at it for years. All right, anyway. So back to the Overwatch shit.
Yeah, sorry guys. Sorry, we're whatever. I'm not sorry. It's my fucking pod. It's our podcast. We can do what the fuck we
want. Anyway, well, maybe some of them like basketball. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, who knows?
So, yeah, I don't feel like there's a whole lot to talk about between London and Valiant's series.
It was a crush. I felt like
Valiant got crushed. I'm sure the Valiant fans are mind blown because they all seemed super convinced that their team was the best and was untouchable just because they won some good match. Like that shit never. But there will be no wings out at the finals. There will be no of those chances, and I'm very glad because even though
wings out,
the way I talk, it makes it seem like I hate the Valiant. I really don't hate the Valiant. I don't even strongly dislike them. I'm just not a fan of theirs. But I do hate that fucking chant. I just do. It's
really
awful.
it's really
I
bad.
hate it. I don't know. Shields up is cool. Yeah, I'm biased. I'm a Gladiators fan, but before I was even really a Gladiators fan, I thought that was I thought that was the
It was
best
cool. Yeah, I thought it was cool.
tagline of all the teams. I was like, it's simple. It super relates to the name. It's fucking good. It sounds good coming out. It's cool. Wings Out has all the same technical characteristics that should make it as good, but when it comes out through voice, it's just I don't know. It's grating to me. It's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
I just don't like it. So
I thought Boston's wasn't bad. Rise
I
Up.
do commend that. No, Rise Up is cool. I like Rise Up. Rise Up is like my second favorite one. Rise Up, and then there was one time where there was a particularly annoying group of fans in the crowd one time. It was just the culmination of their voices bothered me, but not the actual chant.
Right.
And I will say that even though I don't like the Wings Out chant, I do like how enthusiastic and involved a lot of the Valiant fans are.
Yeah,
I like that they're out there and
yeah.
they wear the costumes and chant stuff. I just don't like that chant. But I like that the fans are enthusiastic. I think that's cool. But they got slaughtered, and that's fine. I guess if you're not a Valiant fan, it's fine. So I just want to talk about London, which we did. I think they put in a lot of really, really, really hard work, and I think it's showing off.
Did you see that pitch that Sabioli threw today? Did you see it? I didn't see it.
I didn't see the actual pitch. I
wanted to make
on
sure
TV. They didn't televise that part, which a lot of the time apparently they don't televise the first pitch.
I just want to know if he made it. I picture he would throw a decent pitch, but I just wanted to know if he actually threw it. Okay, so this article, I wanted to talk to you about this because I might be a Florida fan season 2 if they do this, but the Overwatch the owner of Florida Mayhem tweeted, "Are you more of a yellow and red person or an aqua and pink?" Dude, aqua and pink. That's what I was hoping they would do.
Yeah, me too.
Get that retro vibe.
It's always been Miami. It literally that color scheme is. Well, I mean, it's not like those colors didn't exist before, but the real combination of those color teams started with Miami Vice.
Oh yeah,
and Florida's supposed to. The Mayhem are supposed to represent Miami and I guess Orlando too. So I never understood why they went with red and yellow other than just an explosion. It's like red and yellow kinda. Yep. Like old timey cartoon bomb, which is kind of their logo. But yeah, I thought I've been thinking they should change those colors should be that way for a long time. Now if they get a roster of players I'm fans of, then I'll actually be a fan. But I love that color scheme, especially it'll look really good with like the away jerseys with the white, like a nice white, and the aqua and pink. Oh,
dude! Squash replied to him, said, "If we change our colors to Miami Vice colors, we instantly have the best colors in Overwatch League."
Yeah,
dude,
that'd be my favorite color scheme.
It would probably be one of mine too. That is an amazing color scheme. I would love to see that. Absolutely.
Although I do love Gladiators.
Glads have a great purple scheme.
Because not only do I love purple, but I love that it's a lot of time underused and not as popular of a color scheme, and I like silver too. So.
Oh man.
So yeah, London they put in. I figured we could go over the patch notes because they're pretty interesting. I don't know if you saw them.
I did. Yeah. But go ahead and go over them. Yeah.
So I'll just go ahead. Yeah. Well, the latest patch notes.
Well, first of all, so everybody knows, Hammond's in the game now. The hamster ball.
Hammond. Dude. Well, technically, his name is Wrecking Ball. Blizzard just corrected me. They decided. Come on, Blizzard. Everybody's gonna call him Hammond, and it's way easier to fucking say. Why not just make his official name Hammond, and he's like Hammond the Wrecking Ball?
Yeah.
I hate that his actual name in the game and shit is fucking Wrecking Ball. It's a minor thing. It's dumb. I shouldn't be upset about it, but it is so annoying.
In defiance, I call him Hammond. I will never call him Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, nobody's gonna call him Wrecking Ball except for some people. Except for people like me who decide to be on the other side of the argument. Like, well, it's actually Wrecking Ball, so call it that. Like, I mean, I want people to call it Brigitte, but I don't want people to call Wrecking Ball because it's too much fucking work. It doesn't roll off the tongue at all.
But go ahead.
Terrible.
Go ahead and hit patch notes.
All right. So, some really interesting and quite good hit scan changes, which I'm happy about as a, prolific hit scan player. Bastion, his Sentry and Recon modes, the minimum damage at max range is increased from 30% to 50%.
And I think that was also done for McCree and Soldier.
McCree and 76, yeah, all from 30% to 50%,
which is good.
Minimum damage at max range. So basically, easy way to say that is there's less damage fall off. Now, if you're McCree, you can do more damage to a Pharah the further away she was.
Yeah.
The further away she is than you could before this patch. So it's great because a lot of times, that's one of those weaknesses. You have like a hit scan and they're hitting their shots, and then people are like, "Oh, what the fuck? You're a shit McCree. You can't kill this Pharah." It's like, now I'm like hitting her, but she's so far away, and a Mercy's pocket her, and nobody else is throwing any damage
To be
at
fair,
her. My fall off just doesn't allow me to kill her fast
To be
enough.
fair, even if she's 20 feet from you,
yeah,
with a pocketed
damage fall off
Mercy,
was pretty fucking.
I'll say with a pocket Mercy, man. If a Pharah has a pocket Mercy and you have 1 DPS, unless you're a godlike Widow with those headshots, you ain't doing nothing, man. I mean, it's just.
Yep. So May also received a change in that her secondary fire, when she shoots the icicle, there is no more damage fall off for that period.
I don't like that.
Damage at whatever range. Yeah, I don't like. It's
that.
one of those things where
because I've been sniped.
I don't initially have a huge problem with it because May isn't really that popular.
Yeah.
But it is going to be annoying because she is very, especially Mays who are already good at that. That shit is going to be annoying.
It's basically like a delayed Hanzo arrow, and no damage fall off. That shit already did a lot of damage. Like, ugh, man.
Yeah, but at least you have to try to aim it.
Yeah, that's true.
So at least it's not like fucking a lock-on mechanic or something. But we'll see. I could see if she, I think if she were to get super popular for other reasons, that may get changed a bit again in the future. But I think it's an alright change.
Oh,
she's just not that popular.
The other thing with I'm sorry to interrupt, but the other one for the forgot to mention is Widowmaker.
I was just about to mention her.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say she has damage fall off now.
Yeah, well, it threw me for a loop when I was reading it because her automatic, it said her primary fire, and I was like, her primary fire? I think of my brain as her primary fire as the sniper shots, not the fucking
SMG.
But it's the primary automatic fire. So when she's firing in like the SMG configuration of her gun or whatever, when she's not scoped in and shoots, she now has only 50% damage at max range, which is good.
Yeah,
that's a good change. Hanzo received some love, and by that I mean tough love. The duration of storm arrows is reduced from 6 seconds to 5 seconds, and the cooldown went from 8 seconds up to 10 seconds, which is...
As someone who's a fan of the decimal system, can
I call you Dewey Decimal from now on?
Yeah, as someone who's a fan of that system, I like things going by 10. So
yeah,
it's good.
But it's good change.
A nerf. Yeah.
It was, it's a nerf. I can't say I have too many. To be honest, I just haven't spent enough time in the game with the new Hanzo to really say one way or
just
the other,
going off of Overwatch League, I mean,
but
they had it up a lot.
I do believe that most people's opinion was correct and that it was a bit too oppressive. So I think that it should be. I also think Brigitte's stun should be increased again, maybe, but we'll see. I'll actually wait until we see until more time passes because it did just get. I think it went from 7 to 8, or no, it went from 6-second cooldown to 7-second cooldown. So, but I like this kind of steady approach. They're not, they're kind of trying to not do the classic Blizzard thing in Overwatch where they would be like, this shit's OP as fuck, now it's the worst thing ever.
And
this shit's the worst thing ever, now it's OP as fuck.
And
like that.
For the next 10 months.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad that, it's, I wouldn't say they have the best balancing schedule or necessarily the best, certainly not the worst, but it's an improvement from other games that they've made, so I'm glad. And it does seem to be getting better and more consistent over time, which I thought it would. I remember the second podcast or whatever shit, I said that they would get better over time because they actually do care about this game. I don't care whatever fucking...
No, they do not care about this game. They have made their $1 million. Now they're going to throw it in the trash. Yep.
Yeah, they're out.
Zero dev time.
All right. So, Sombra also... Sombra got some pretty interesting changes, almost like slight reworks to her abilities. Her stealth now lasts indefinitely, so you don't have a timer. You can just, when you're in stealth, you're in stealth. However, when she's in stealth, she no longer can contest objectives. And also, instead of getting a 70% movement speed buff, she now only has a 50% movement speed buff. So,
I personally
think
like
that's
this change.
interesting.
I like this change personally.
And then, before I get into it, the translocator ability has also been changed. It also lasts indefinitely now. However, the translocator itself, it has a health bar and can be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And the radius, the range at which you can use it in is reduced. I don't know by how much, and it doesn't say in the patch notes, which is not a big surprise because Blizzard has gotten better at patch.
Bro, okay, hold on.
Better at patch notes, but they still leave a little bit to be desired in that area.
Okay, that's a quick, super fast detour. The patch notes for pre-patch for World of Warcraft, did you look at them? They are the worst patch notes I've ever seen in my life. They had
Really?
Hold on. They had dramatic changes for a lot of the talents, the way the talents worked for a lot of people. And on every single class, what they said was a lot of talents and PvP talents have been changed. And that was all they said. Nothing.
It's all different now,
that's all it said. I was like, who the fuck wrote these patch notes, man?
Right.
But anyways.
To play devil's advocate here, they're not bad patch notes. They're just really concerned with they want players to have more agency in figuring out, and they want players to explore more and experiment with those abilities and get to know them and become more intimate with them themselves instead of just reading what's good or not on a paper.
It's not about even what's good or not. It's just like I looked at I was looking at disc and I was like, oh sweet. I knew we had a lot of changes. I want to look at them specifically while I'm taking a shit. I went to go take a shit, pulled up the patch notes.
Well, Blizzard hates shitting.
Yeah, they really do, yeah.
But I hate shitting too, so I agree
Really?
with them. Yeah, I wish it wasn't a thing.
Really?
Yeah,
Are you serious?
I've never taken a shit and been like, man, I'm really glad I'm taking this shit right now.
Are you serious?
There's
Oh,
never
dude.
been a...
Oh,
No,
man, I love
hate
taking shits.
I hate it.
Oh, it's one of my
I'd
favorite
rather not
things.
produce waste. I wish I was Kim Jong-un and didn't produce any amount of waste
I
whatsoever.
wish I wasted more.
Fantastic. A perfect system.
I'll take your shit.
I'd give it to you if I could. Guess I could. Save it up. Want me to save it up for when I visit?
Yes, please.
Just keep it in a box.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
But anyways, going back to the Sombra notes, I like the Sombra changes personally.
Yeah. It's made a lot of Sombra players angry, I know. At least initial reactions because it's changed. Some people think it'll end up, even though it sounds like a positive change, it ends up being a nerf because the stuff that they can do with their abilities is gone down. I don't know. I think it's one of those things where, people usually just have a knee-jerk negative reaction to any amount of change.
Possibly, yeah.
And what will probably happen is they'll be like, this is the worst thing ever, and then some pro or somebody else, if it stays this way for a while, will play it and get notoriety, or a streamer or something, and show some interesting things with how it's good, how the change is good, and then people start doing it, and then there's it's like circle of life. Then people are like, see, I said this from the beginning, it was never going to be, and blah, blah. And then it's too early to tell. I think they're interesting changes. Good, bad? I don't know. I can't say. Do I think they're good? Do I think they're bad? I really don't have an opinion. But I think it's interesting because clearly she needed, some change to her kit to make her more readily viable. I suppose, and this is a change that could do that, or it could not. Who knows? We have to let it take some time, people.
Well, that's true. I like this though because one thing if I'm playing a stealth class, I like being a stealth class, and the problem with Sombra when I play her is I felt like the stealth was like a quick little tiny neat thing. It's like this is pretty neat, but really you weren't a stealth character. You kind of just had that toolkit, and then. But you still did everything else like a normal, like.
Now, I wouldn't
play.
go so far as to say I was good at Sombra. So, this opinion probably doesn't matter, but I almost always use the stealth for the movement speed to get places, more so than the stealth, just because the stealth, I mean, I used it sometimes to get out of situations or whatever, but a lot of the time, with the stealth being on a timer, it was nice you could stall objectives with it, but. Yeah. I think that's a minor thing. There's a lot of abilities and things you can use.
Especially if there's like a Winston or a Diva. I mean,
there's better people to stall an objective with. So I think taking that away isn't really a big deal.
Well, I mean, the stealth part. If you're holding the objective and they know there's a Sombra, like a Winston or a Diva is just going to pull you right out of stealth just by spraying. Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Translocator is interesting. I wonder how
R-
much the radius has been
yeah,
reduced
I don't
by.
know that either.
But I
Did
liked
you
that it lasts indefinitely.
did you go to yeah, because you can, because basically you could use that for some really interesting setups, and you're not so like one of the things is like you put it on a health pack in your back line, right? But you really want to create this really good setup, but you only have a certain amount of seconds. What was it? 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever, to get the setup. Now you have, an unlimited time window to get your setup going and still
Mhm.
be able to do it. And then of course the only thing is if the enemy flank happens to catch it, well then it's killed.
Well, I
So
also like that it's destructible because I probably have shot them more times than I care to
yeah,
admit,
yeah.
thinking they were destructible. Just like, oh, what if? What if I see this
Uh,
thing? I want to destroy it.
Real quick, did you go over the Mercy damage boost?
Uh, no, that's actually not in these patch notes.
Okay, well, anyways, the Mercy damage boost now does not affect things like
Oh yeah,
Dragon
that was the
Strike.
previous patch notes. Oh no, this was in that patch. Yeah,
Yeah, it
go ahead.
doesn't affect Mercy boost now doesn't affect Dragon Strike, Junkrat Tire, things like that. Diva Bomb. It used to, although it really wasn't. I mean, Dragon Strike Mercy boost was pretty good, but the other ones it was kind of, it was whatever. I think this is basically just. I think this is another symptom of Mercy still a tad too strong, and they're just trying to pick the ice
Yeah.
off of her
You know
and
what?
get her down.
I don't want to talk forever this time, but we'll get to that. Let's do that on the next one or a special. We could just make one after the finals where we
Yeah,
explain why we don't like certain things about Mercy or some shit.
yeah,
I mean,
I'd be fine with that. Yeah.
I feel like we
Um,
should attempt to do some sort of content while we're waiting for World Cup and shit, you know? So we'll
yeah,
we'll talk about that more for people who do like to hear us. But there is another. I think it's well, I guess it's not really that. It's not an important change really, but it's nice. Uh oh wait, no, this is important. Yeah, I skipped over it. Okay, so map updates. When final objectives on non-control maps are contested for extended amounts of time and attackers have an advantage in numbers, the respawn time for defenders now increases even faster.
huh.
So they're trying, it's they just think that defenders still have a bit too much of an advantage, and I would be
Yeah,
inclined to agree.
yeah,
Defense should always have an advantage in a defensible point, right? That's otherwise it wouldn't really be defense. However, it it's kind of like it's one of those things where yeah, I guess sometimes it's not necessarily, or at least it feels, right? Maybe it's not the case, but sometimes it feels as though you're not able to capture a point, not because your attack wasn't good enough, but just because they're able to respond and recuperate or recompose themselves faster. Not because your attack wasn't strong enough, right? Because sometimes if your attack's like way strong enough, like overkill, and you wipe the whole team and then just cap it, like clearly. But sometimes, that's just not all that possible, and you get a few real key picks, but they just respawn fast enough, and you have like people with really good mobility, like Mercy flying at the last second or some shit, you know. And there's ways to deal with those things, but sometimes it's just kind of like it does feel like they have a bit too much of an advantage. So I think it's a good change. At least we'll see how it plays out.
yeah. Because I mean, I guess because they're saying this kicks into effect when overtime's been going on for a minute, right?
Yeah,
Because I feel like
yeah,
what happens is if your attack is able to keep the overtime for a very long time at the final point, kind of thing, the attack's really doing a good job because the defensive
yeah,
already has
exactly.
the
Because
ground. So
yeah,
I
the
could see
defense
that.
has all. Defense is way easier to get. I mean, not only are they closer to the point, but they have the defender's advantage. Like you said, if you've been attacking and you've been in overtime for like a solid minute, like attack is doing a better job than defense is. Defense is just able to get there quicker, so it makes up for
That's
that.
what it feels like. So yeah, I'd agree with
So,
that.
and
But we'll
then
see. We'll see. Yeah.
this is kind of minor because it doesn't affect competitive. I guess that's not to say like if you don't play comp, your shit don't matter, but it doesn't really affect the balance of the game. It's just changing. Uh, Objective time for assault maps has been reduced from 5 minutes to 4 minutes per control point in quick play and arcade modes. So it used to be 5, but I won't read this verbatim. But the developer comments they changed it because they thought there was too many instances of people just getting locked into a quick play or an arcade game for too long because you know one team would I whether it was the attackers taking something super fast and the way it stacked up, sometimes you'd have 8 minutes to defend a point or 8 minutes to cap, and they thought it was just too long, so they reduced it by a minute to bring it in line with what you see in competitive.
Yeah.
But I do think it's worth mentioning that I like that. I think that, quick play should be as close to competitive as reasonably possible.
Absolutely.
If not exactly. It should be like, a practice mode for competitive play. Unfortunately, and Overwatch is definitely not the only game that suffers from this.
Well,
People
yeah, Counter Strike. That's what I don't like about Counter Strike.
People tend to view the casual version of the competitive thing of the game as just, well, it's not really comp, so it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, to a degree, yeah, I agree. It doesn't really matter because there's no real consequences for losing and there's no real benefits for winning. However, I don't think that means that you should just make it your mission to be an ass and like not do anything relevant to trying winning the game, because that's not cool, right? Like quick play I wish more people or perhaps even the vast majority of people viewed it like we did, or at least how I do. Quick play is a less serious or a non-serious, less like stressful environment to practice how you would play in competitive.
Exactly.
That's how I try to take it. But it's frustrating because when you're one of those people, a lot of times you go into quick play and more than half the people don't see it as that way, and they just whatever, it's their right, they can play the game, but but a lot of those people also do the same shit in competitive. That's the problem. It's not like they keep their fucking troll shit in quick play and then.
Let's bring this to another conversation, because we can actually talk about this around the same time we talk about the Mercy stuff, because this goes into discussions that we've had before, talking about how we feel like the structure.
People being shitty.
Well, I just mean that how we feel the structure for competitive and how casual compares to that should probably have some tweaking and be changed. But we'll go over that at a later podcast.
There was one more thing I did want to mention.
Okay.
This is real quick. So it's not official, but I was reading an article about Torbjorn changes that are in testing. That apparently VG247 got an exclusive look at some changes.
For who?
For
who now?
For Torbjorn.
Torb, okay.
Torbjorn. So as far as I know, this isn't on. They're just, they got an insider's look, but this isn't going to be on PTR or anything anytime soon. But here's what's currently in testing. Torbjorn is able to throw a turret out a short distance, about the same distance as Tracer's Pulse Bomb. And it will self-deploy and upgrade to level 2 without doing any hammering. The team is also trying to tune Molten Core to be a normal ability, but it might not make the cut. As of yet, there's no ultimate named or described, and there's no word when the actual Torb rework will come into the game. But I didn't even realize that they were looking at reworking Torbjorn.
Well,
so I think that's kind of interesting.
I mean, Torbjorn is interesting, and he's not bad, but he's not particularly good either. And so I could see him being on the block for that. Because, we have yet to see if new Symmetra is going to see any kind of competitive aspect or play. Maybe not. Who knows? But they're trying to work it out. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. Turret heroes in a game like this are a problem. And so it seems like they're working on it. I'm glad. They need to work on it. I hope they continuously fine-tune them. And I'm glad they're also, on another note, I'm glad things like old Symmetra's beam and things like old Moira's beam, I'm glad that they have changed that from being something that's like auto lock on. I'm glad they're putting more skill intensive stuff in the game.
Definitely.
And for stuff like Winston, him thing not be able. See, I talk like a monkey now. Jeez, him thing not like able to aim is fine, because the whole point of his character is not necessarily that. It's his positioning, shield, and using being a meat wall. But anyways, we can talk.
Also doesn't do an impressive amount of damage.
We can talk more about this in another.
Podcast, but the article, if anybody, I guess we could link it, but
it's on Reddit.
At vg247.com. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's a Reddit post about it. I didn't get it from the Reddit post. I saw a link to it from a different website. Oh, actually, in a newsletter from mmorpg.com. It was one of the articles. I was like, oh, okay. And then in that article, they gave a summary and linked to the vg247.com article. But anyway, just credit where credit's due. So, Yeah, and that's right. There's one more thing that's relevant to what I just said.
Okay.
But I was reading through the bug fixes. And this one, it just seems kind of amusing. Fixed a bug that caused Torbjorn bot to continuously try upgrading his turret when placed in an inaccessible location. No real reason to mention other than that. The mental image you gave me is pretty funny of a Torbjorn like being really frustrated, hammering a wall with like a turret above him. Like, why isn't this working? Just like fucking pissed off. Seems funny.
Oh goddamn.
Yeah, wish I would have seen that bug in its prime. Damn.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up the podcast here. However, I would like to remind everybody that as of right now, I'm recording this. It's the 25th, but the 27th, that is a Friday of July. Friday, July 27th at 6 p.m. That's when the grand finals start. That's going to be the first game between Philadelphia Fusion and London Spitfire.
Yes. Oh shit.
Yeah, and then the day after, on Saturday, the following two games between Philly and London is going to be, or one and possibly two games, we'll see, will be at starting at 3 p.m. On Saturday. You'll be able to watch it on Twitch or on the Overwatch League website like you have been. However, this time it will also be televised on TV, and not just any TV. It'll be on ESPN. ESPN 1 for the Friday game, as well as Disney XD. And then on Saturday, it'll be on Disney XD and ESPN 3. And then there will be reruns of it on ESPN 2 on Saturday, and then on Saturday, and then on Sunday it'll be kind of a highlight on ABC as well as ESPN 3 again.
Since it's relevant to the finals, so there's going to be a performance, quote unquote, from DJ Khaled for the finals. So
no way, what?
I will definitely not be tuning into that. I may watch it.
I will
have
watch
it muted.
I will
have it muted because Twitch chat would probably be funny, but I do not want to hear DJ Khaled say anything.
There is no way I am missing out on DJ Khaled doing his
He
stuff.
Also,
no way I'm missing out on that, dude.
Did a horrible job when he did the NBA things too. So
oh yeah, but I'm so excited.
I like performances,
That's awesome.
Man. I wish they would have got like somebody who actually cares. Like apparently
like Metallica or something.
Vince Staples actually likes Overwatch and straight up tweeted at Blizzard like,
oh, wow.
I would love to be involved with the finals and shit. But they get DJ Khaled. Like he's not even at like height meme potential anymore. Like most people don't care about him anymore. Like it would have made sense a while ago when everybody was like memeing him to shit. At least that's like a popularity thing. But
yeah, they should have got Drake. They should have got
like Vince Staples or like shit. We could put on a better performance, just the two of us. We should have been.
We don't have nearly enough money to be as good as DJ Khaled.
But anyway, yeah. Also, I don't know if it's relevant, but I figure I'll mention this just in case somebody didn't see this and they listen to us and they're going to the finals. Philly is providing a free shuttle ride.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Grand finals for people who are going to be in New York. Go to their Twitter. If that's relevant to you, because you have to sign up by July 25th at 5 p.m. But yeah, I think that's really nice of Philly. Oh yeah, and also, Carpe's stats are insane. Whether or not, if Philly wins, it's definitely pretty good contention for Overwatch Finals MVP. However, a lot of people are forgetting about how much work EQO has put in too. Its flexibility really helps the team.
I would put Carpe over EQO. I feel like EQO is a playmaker, but Carpe is the bricklayer as well as the playmaker.
I personally think Carpe is more deserving of the MVP, but I don't like how overshadowed EQO is also getting. Like I don't think he's getting overshadowed. No way, man. He gets praised all the time, man. That guy. I think they talk more about him than they do Carpe. No, since the playoffs started, they've almost only been talking about Carpe like a lot of the time because he's been. I mean, Carpe's been hitting tons of flashy shots and stuff, so it makes sense. But yeah, no, EQO definitely deserves candidacy. I think it should go to Carpe if Philly wins, but I definitely think if EQO doesn't get candidacy for it, that's kind of like really, But anyway, yeah.
Well,
I want to go eat.
Yeah, me too. Well, I'm not gonna eat. I'm gonna snack. Anyways, what was I doing? I got like heat brain today, man. I have heat brain every day.
Show.
Yeah, we're closing that show. That's right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening to The One Trick Hero and for hearing us ramble here for the last hour. If you enjoyed our content, like, comment, subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. If you'd like to hit us up on social media, we're on Twitter. I say we're on Facebook, but I do not go on there because Facebook is a cancer and a disease, and anything I do on there is painful. I don't like doing it. I just don't like messing with it. You can follow us there if you want, but I mean, I'm not going to do anything, so it's useless social media. But anyways, Twitter, SoundCloud. Oh, I forgot to post we were doing this on Twitter. Fuck. Whatever. I know. I'm terrible. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week with coverage of the finals from this week, and then we'll see where we go from there. Hopefully Fish will be with us for the Grand Finals podcast. I'm sure he will. He might not, though. Who knows? Nice. But that would be nice. But anyways, thank you all for listening. Have a good evening, day, night, morning, whatever the hell time it is for you. And we will see you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.